meeting to order this May the 18th, 2026, 9 a.m. We'd all stand, please, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Kelly?
Dear Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful for today, Lord. We are thankful for the wonderful community that we live in and this great organization that we have. And I pray a blessing over all that work here and provide for us here, Lord, and keep them safe on their jobs. Lord, we pray for our troops and men and women overseas and our first responders. And pray that you would just give us the wisdom to make good decisions and lead the city in this unification. All this in your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
That was such a good prayer.
He's always good.
He's always, yes.
You may have a second
He's
prayer here.
yeah. He's good.
My past may catch up with me.
We'll talk about that. If we could, please, here, Ms. Simmons, would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Davenport,
Here.
Commissioner Conrad,
Here.
Commissioner Devine,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We've got two items, well, actually three, but what I'd like to do, I have to leave at about 10:05. And I would like to talk about the Westerly Complex first, if y'all don't mind, while we could. I'm up to speed on the purchase power. I'm up to speed on what item number one is. If y'all wouldn't mind, I'd like to do that. Anybody having a problem with that?
No.
Nope.
Thank you. Okay, if that's the case, let's start out there with Commissioner Devine. You want to lead this off and where we are and what,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
Are we gonna have this up on the screen?
Yep.
All right.
Wrong one. Wait.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes.
So this is on the agenda from our discussion in the last board meeting where we wanted to take a little deeper dive on the approach to the Western Complex. And what this presentation is really intended to do is bring us all up to speed, especially on the focus areas of phase one and phase two. And if you go to that second page, please, just as a reminder, what we agreed, let's see, one more page if you would, please. As a reminder, we broke the plan into 4 phases. The phases over the next year really will just deal with phase 1 and 2, but just at a high level, phase 1 is really directed at kind of reestablishing our kind of strategic direction, as well as starting the process for a search for a partner to take us through some of the rezoning process and put ourselves in a position to select a development partner. Phase 2 is going through that rezoning process with a development partner, getting the land valued, and then putting us in a position to select that rezoning partner. Phase 3 would be executing contractually all those agreements that result in essentially the sale of this building, the creation of a new state-of-the-art facility in the Western Complex, and then turning over the remaining land to that development partner. And then phase 4 is a phase that we, the Utilities Commission, would no longer be a part of, but that's the build out of the Canal Street property and the Western Complex outside of the building that we're associated with. And then just to, I thought maybe the best way to understand this phase 1 and phase 2 better so that we are all aligned would be to go through kind of a project Gantt chart, if you would. And so for this morning, what we'll do is just, as I said, focus on phase 1 and 2, and I'll go through kind of the main components of phase 1 and 2, and then we'll look at 1 and 2 in a little more detail. So number 1, in phase 1, what we have there is we've decided on the strategy. That was about 2 or 3 months ago. We started on this approach of partnering with a developer rather than kind of doing it ourselves. We're today going to spend not only kind of looking at the phase 1 and 2, but we'll look at the details of an RFQ that has been worked on over the last month. So that process is well underway, and hopefully the result is we get a good understanding of that RFQ today, and then we can put that up for a vote in our next meeting. And then in parallel, we described that there has been a lot of work already in understanding that land from a perspective of wetlands, from multiple dimensions of understanding the land. And this is not, this work that's represented in that bullet that you see independent land analysis, that is not to value the land, it's just to do surveys to understand the land better as it relates to today versus some of these surveys that we took were conducted 3+ years ago. So what the Ephraim's team will do is look at those past surveys, determine what is potentially out of date, and then they'll complete surveys of that land as it relates to any kind of gaps we may have. And then finally, what you'll see there is a set of milestones associated with how we present this plan to the public. And so you'll see it's called Develop and Execute Public Communications. This is kind of new, we haven't talked about it, but this is the idea that we should probably engage in some sort of public relations. I think there's many of us that believe this is such a win-win for, not only the UC, but the citizens of New Smyrna Beach. So it's important that we make sure that public communications is done really well in a professional way. And then phase 2, as you look through there, it is, let's see, we're on a different page here, if that's okay, but I'm going to go to what's up on the screen here and pause to see if there's any questions around phase 1 and the direction that we're planning to take.
When we were working on this a couple of years ago, that was one of the main things that we were addressing, is the holding a public, if you will, forum, bring the public all together and tell them what we're doing. That to me is that is the most important thing, other than the most important thing is making sure we get a unanimous vote up here for all 5 of us going down the road. And while we're here and you're bringing these up, I was thinking, what we need to do while he's going through is, Commissioner Devine, y'all write down notes. What would hold you back from voting yes? Keep thinking that. What would hold you back from voting yes? So we all can start making notes, and we'll start talking about that at every workshop meeting for just a few minutes, because we have to make sure we're all on board, and we'll only be all on board until we're communicating what you need. I know, Commissioner Smith, one of your big concerns is the road, but any of us that have, while we're listening up here, write it down, any concerns you have that would hold you back from moving forward with a yes before we start spending a whole lot of money, and then we can have like a straw vote, if you will, to see if we're all on board.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Devine. You continue.
Sure. And so let me just, again, pause here, though. A lot of detail, and there's some refined timing on the detail that you see there. But essentially, one of the key ones that you'd want to kind of focus on is we have completed draft 1. We're on draft 2, which actually I think it was sent out to everybody. Has the draft 2 been sent out yet?
Yes, I think that's the one that you have in front of you.
Great.
That Debbie printed out for everybody.
So we've had some good advice doing these multiple
Commissioner
drafts.
Devine wants- Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me for interrupting. Could you tell me what page that is?
This is the,
Slide 8.
counting the,
8?
Slide 8.
Thank you.
sorry, we should be still on page,
Man,
I thought we were on
It
page
should say
four.
Western Complex Approach Phase
Six.
1, so if
Yeah,
you can
that's
go back
page
one.
Six.
4.
Two back.
Page
Page
4?
4,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You got it right here?
I,
Bill?
page 4 is where I was, that's where I was
Yeah,
confused. That's not page 4.
Yeah, sorry, we
That's
went
six.
ahead one.
Do you want phase one or the overall?
I'm on Phase 1, Western Complex Approach Phase 1, which is showing right here.
Page, yep, that's it. That's it. That is the one.
Yeah.
And what page is that?
Right here.
Page 6.
What page?
It's not
Six,
page
not
number.
showing on the web.
It looks like Lillian, about 4 pages back.
Because I copied stuff.
There you go, one more, turn it one time, Ethan. There you go. 6. There you are.
6, all right,
There we go.
thank you.
Now we're all on the
Yeah.
same.
So what you'll
Page.
see in there is, the teams have done a really good job coming up with this draft RFQ, and if you recall, you know, we thought that this was an area, where we could trip if not done right. That this could, you know, we could get somewhere very far down the path, and, we really wanted to make sure from a legal perspective that, this is crafted really well, and I think we've got that. There'll be an outline of what's in that draft 2 that we'll look at later this morning. And then you'll see that there's, the way this is outlined, if you would, now that we're all on the same page, the blue lines that you see there are 4 on this page. Those are all the decisions for the commission to make. So as an example, you know, we confirmed the strategic direction already. The next approval that we'll have is to really absorb what this RFQ is saying, and then we'll have a vote on this RFQ in the next meeting. There'll be a selection of the developer. That's the next big decision. So we're gonna let the RFQ, we'll get feedback from the RFQ. There'll be an analysis of the responses, and then you'll see in that line 15, there's a decision by the commission to select the potential development partner, and then you'll see under the UC independent land analysis, that's what I was describing, where we take inventory of the existing surveys we have, we provide some, we make a decision on where we want to survey more, and then we'll share those results. But all this this phase 1 ends up with Ephraim signing an MOU to say this is our intent to work with this developer through the next phase, which is kind of the rezoning phase.
And I think the key thing to point out as well is there is various checkpoints. So first step is getting agreement on the RFP. The RFP is issued, a list of developers respond, and then you get to select, you know, and if we're not satisfactory, if we're not happy with what we're receiving, there is checkpoints there that we can then pause and reevaluate.
Yeah.
Good job.
Any questions on phase 1 before we go to phase 2?
Just
It's-
looking
Commissioner
at the RF, I want to make sure we keep our Ps and Qs correct. It's a RFP, not an RFQ, right?
RFP, yeah, sorry if
Cooperation.
I've used the wrong term, it's gone back and forth between Ps and Qs.
But the question I have, the RFP reference the city commission and also the county for that matter. Do you think it would be advisable before we issue the RFP that we at least provide an opportunity for the commission to have, if any, comment on that process?
I'll answer that. The last, if you don't mind, my opinion, we had our workshop, both workshops, what, year and a half ago, Ephraim?
Correct.
And all the commissioners that are there now, including the mayor, was there, that, if you'll correct me, you were there too, Commissioner Conrad, that they basically said, we want y'all to make this decision to move forward, because it's gonna come to them. So to get them this involved this early, I don't think they'd like that. I think they'd like more to know really which direction we are, and then they would give us feedback. But they're all for us to keep the momentum going without slowing it down anyway. But if y'all want to, I'll do what you want to do. That's just my opinion up here from what I heard the commissioner and the mayor say.
And the other thing I'd add is, you know, in creating this, Ephraim and I were kind of brainstorming the potential agenda items for the July 20th meeting. And this would definitely be front and center as a potential one of the agenda items that we would take up with the city. That's the, I think it's now July 20th?
July 20th at 5 o'clock
Yeah,
For our workshop.
in here.
with the city, yeah.
Right,
With the
but
city.
That's the perfect time to bring it up. Then Commissioner Smith, this will be brought up at that time.
Yeah.
And it'll be done by then,
No, it won't.
No.
Our vote is on the 23rd,
okay?
and that meeting is on the 20th.
There you go. Thank you. Perfect.
Any other questions on phase one?
I'm just looking at, not at phase one, but we keep saying, as Commissioner Smith just said, you've mentioned RFQ, and then I see RFP. Is it gonna be an RFQ or?
It's a P.
would-
It's a P.
Okay,
P.
okay.
Which one is it? I missed that one.
P. It's
It's a P, right?
P, yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
And I see you picking up,
Right.
this is the latest RFQ. I think you have two,
I don't,
or RFPs.
So the
Commissioner Devine,
version,
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ephraim.
oh, I was just gonna say that, Debbie had sent out the agenda on Thursday, which had the latest version of the RFP. There was a subsequent version that was provided by Gray Robinson, but we need to put some input into that and some additional edits.
Okay.
That'll come in anticipation, for the May 26th commission meeting. But right now, you're working.
July, or,
Well, it would be, we would vote on, if we
May.
wanted,
May
yes,
26th, yes.
the May 26th commission meeting.
Okay, so what do I have in my hand?
You
Something
have,
that I'm not gonna be looking at on 5/26.
Correct.
Okay.
So we can.
There will be a few
This is
updates to that.
Not the revision. It's not the final
And
revision.
just to give you a rough description between the two, the very latest does a better job of, here's some of the red lines, of describing this four-phase project, where in the first version, it really wasn't clear the full macro story. And then it adds a little more criteria to the analysis process that we would go through for the RFP.
And we have been sent the copy you're referring to right there now?
That's what
Deb, we have been sent,
it
You
should
will-
be today or tomorrow.
Okay.
exactly, we need to
I'm
make some
clear.
edits to it, yes.
thank you.
From a content
We
perspective,
don't have it yet.
no changes to anything I'm describing here. It's just emphasizing inside the RFP, kind of the four-phase approach, where if you hadn't been following what we're doing, you might not understand the full picture.
So if I took the time, Commissioner Devine, to read thoroughly through this not final version, the only thing I'm gonna see different when I read thoroughly the final version for, that will be considered for voting in May in our board meeting next week, would be related to the macro versions, and just as you indicated in the first section.
Correct.
As opposed to anything substantive later on.
Correct.
Okay.
As well as the, as I said, we define the analysis that will take place to select the vendor. That is
Of course.
modified a little bit. It's more enhanced than modified.
Great. Okay, I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Okay, in both the phase that is in process for the survey that's not independent and the phase for the independent survey, are we talking about certified surveys of the land, or are we just talking about parcels within?
Well, first off, I think everybody did receive, I think Julie published multiple surveys that have been done over like a 3 to 4 year period. The task here is for Julie's team to assess all the surveys that have been done in the past, understand what could have potentially changed or the thoroughness of the past surveys, and then come up with the gap filler, if you would, of what additional surveys we should go do.
Perfect.
And so that may be more of the same, it could be different areas, it could be partials. I'm not sure what that's gonna yield, but Julie's team is responsible for defining what needs to be done.
So after the independent survey is completed, or surveys are completed, there would be sufficient information for the developer that has been chosen to be able to make a decision on how to proceed forward.
That's a great question. I would say,
Should be.
our intention is, with this work, information for the board. We will give all the developers access to the land to do their own surveys. And in fact, I think it would be probably unwise for us to give them our survey and say, here, use this as, facts you want to use to value the land, et cetera. I think we would probably prefer that they use their own data to make their decisions and not rely on ours. This is more to educate ourselves for that time that comes up in phase 2 where we have to value the land.
I don't think it would hurt, though. In fact, we should, if they're coming in and thinking about investing this kind of money, give them that survey, but on the survey put, not to be used for
Right.
development. This is the concept, what we have at UC, but let them have a starting point to compare. So that's,
Totally agree. Does everybody agree with that?
I agree with that. and I
Turn the
do-
surveys over, but
Yeah.
big red letters,
big.
you use your own data.
Mr. Chair, too, I do agree with Jeff, but I do agree with you in the fact that if you're a developer gonna spend that kind of money, you're gonna pull your own.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna do your own
They'll do,
assessment.
they'll do soil test borings,
yeah.
they'll do, all the environmental, it's just a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Would it be better to give them the surveys and let them decide what additional surveys are necessary?
Exactly. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, rather than staff.
We've got, excuse me just a minute, Commissioner. We have, Julie, if I remember, we do have a boundary survey, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's the best starting point, and then I don't know if any's been done interior. I think the road was shot, the road was laid out, but other than that, I don't know if we have any more. I don't remember any. Do you? Thank you.
So we have a few surveys for sections that we were looking at building on. So we
Right.
have that, and we have a 2018 LiDAR survey where they flew over, but in my opinion, that's dated.
Okay,
When it
perfect.
comes to wetlands and stuff, because of all the storms we've had and stuff, so.
Exactly. Okay, that flyover was for wetlands?
Yes,
Then we'll have a lot more wetlands since then.
I'm sure it has
Spread.
shifted and changed
Thank
over the
you.
years.
Okay, good point.
But to Commissioner Smith, I think we do have to do our diligence as well, and I think we should probably invest in these surveys. And the developer should probably do their independent work.
Do we have a number associated with what it's going to cost us to complete phase 1?
We did put an estimate in when we voted on phase 1, there was an estimate, I believe.
$250,000 total, was it?
No, it wasn't
200?
that much. I think it was $150,000.
Isn't it somewhere in this package anyhow?
It was in a previous package.
It was one of your, it was on
Oh,
that PowerPoint that
Yeah,
you
it
did.
is in here. I put the
Well, you
last
have
one.
a page that says next 6 months resources and budget.
Yeah.
Do we have an accounting
Page-
now of
Page
the work that's been
29.
done?
Yes.
Yeah, 125 to 225 is it?
Yeah.
In the appraisal.
Yeah, it's page 29 in this package.
Okay.
Yes. So, Commissioner
My
Smith?
concern, are we keeping a running accounting of how much we've invested so far in preparing these documents, or do we have that number?
We've done that, hadn't we? Ethan, on
So currently what we have is staff, myself, Julie, and Maureen. We've spent time reviewing the versions of the RFP and having some conference calls with Gray Robinson, Jeff, and myself, Heather, Scott. Really not, a good amount of time, but we can start tracking further detail. Right now, it's been primarily focused on the RFP. From a Gray Robinson standpoint, it's about just over $10,000 in legal invoices.
Okay, thank you.
Now-
And it's also my my recollection that you have a record of the costs incurred
Yes.
since the property was purchased or subsequent anyhow to when the lift station and the build-out on the existing
So
site was?
what's sitting on the balance sheet right now related to this project is approximately 1.6, almost 1.7 million that we spent to date.
Okay.
Now, that has paused till now, just because we now are revisiting it.
And that 1.6 is over the last 5
Oh,
years.
yeah, over the last, what, Julie?
20 years?
Yeah, no,
No, it's not that long.
10 years now?
14?
It's been,
It's
it's,
like 2011?
Well, it's been several years, let's put it
No,
that.
they actively started looking at doing something on that property around 2017, 2018, and that's when
That's
the
when
costs
it
were
started.
started.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gosh.
Okay, and then if you go to page 7, at least on the printed version here,
Man,
there you go. This is the project plan, if you would, that's focused on the public communication. So this is where you would see us developing a kind of a scope for the work. We would RFQ this work to a public communications company, do an RFQ, and then we would select the firm that would work with us over the coming years to really position this in the right way in the public's eyes. Questions on that? All right?
so I do have I don't know if it's a question or observation. Develop and execute a public communication. When, in this time frame, from 5/14 through 7/29, public engagement. So at the end of July is when you would think the board, we would have a public hearing or meeting, or everyone come down and dog and pony show, call them, I guess?
I don't know how that's gonna, that's why we're bringing in this expertise.
Okay.
I mean, in my view, it could be everything from, public hearings to social media to you name it. I mean,
Focus
it's very
groups.
important that
Yeah.
we, I
Okay, I
believe,
got it.
drive the message. And you'll
I'm
see
with
that goes through, right now, I'm showing that goes through February of '28. So I think there'll
Yeah,
be.
that's what I meant, yes.
Yeah. But the initial contract award is in late July, where we would select the partner
Okay,
to help us with this
thank you, I
communication.
got it.
and we will revise the the timeline, because that would be its own RFP, RFQ to select a communication strategy. The RFP that we're focusing on right now is strictly for the developer
Yeah.
selection.
And I think this one with the market, with a communications team, that would be probably an RFQ. Okay, and then on to phase 2, which will be the last phase that we talk about here. This is really the phase that is navigating the rezoning of the land. So we now have an MOU signed with a development partner. That development partner is of the mindset that they're going to help us propose the rezoning for that land to maximize, the benefit to the Utilities Commission, to the developer, and to the city. And that, you'll see, has been outlined where there'd be kind of 2 iterations, if you would, of working with the city and others to get that rezoned. And at the end of this, you'll see that once this gets rezoned, the development partner's done a lot of the heavy lifting to do that, but
Amen.
doesn't really have a lot, there's no contractual commitment at this point to that developer. So at the end of this process, there will be essentially an RFQ that goes out to see what we can now assess as the value of that land. If you'll notice here, nowhere until we get to this point do we try to assess the value of the land. It's only after the land has been rezoned that we can properly assess the value. Now, we do have language in the RFP that suggests that the developer in this initial phase can ask for a right of first refusal in this next phase, where we actual contract the developer. And that's hopefully a solid incentive that that developer, you know, can shape that zoning to how they see is the best use, along with the city and ourselves. But at the end of that, they're in a kind of a lead position, if you would, because they've got a lot of knowledge, they've maximized the analysis, and that will put us in a good position to come out with a win-win outcome.
But this also, in this rezoning process, we, as the commission, will be supportive of them in direction they are guiding us to work with the city. And this is where I saw communication with the city here in a minute, where I was reading, staff is so important that they're in the loop and communicated to what's going on.
Right.
There would,
In your meetings, Ephraim, you know, when you have them, what, your staff has?
Yes, so we
Bi-monthly?
meet bi-monthly with the
Good.
city, so we're always having discussions.
Perfect, okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Devine, when you mentioned rezonings, does that include future land use map amendments?
It'll have to be done, yes.
Because I would think I would add that into the text, because if there's future land use map amendments, that
You-
makes a difference. You have to do that prior to doing a rezoning.
Right. That's in this step and process, so that's a good point.
But
Very valid.
I can make
Future
sure that's
land.
clear.
They can be done simultaneously as well.
Right, simultaneously.
But it's nice to have that identified so that we know that that's the expectation.
Right.
And as far as our involvement in those applications, we would be the applicant, because of being the landowner.
Is that correct?
That's a good
Mr.
question.
Yeah,
I don't know
we'd
the
be
answer
the
to that.
applicant.
So we can authorize the developer to be the applicant? I mean, it just depends on the different types
Right.
of agreements we work together, but that's correct. I mean, really, they're standing in our shoes for that purpose.
Excellent points, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Devine.
So just in terms of timing, you'll see that kind of the final rezoning there is somewhere at the close to the end of the year. There's, gonna be, of course, work that has to be done at the state level, at the county level, and of course, the heavy lift is with the city. And then the final zoning, we have that occurring somewhere at the first of the year. And so once that is concluded, then we're ready to pull the trigger on a contractual obligation where this building is sold, a new building is contracted to be built, and the rest of the land is to be used by the developer.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
Does this take into account the city's process for future land use and zoning? I mean, are these submittal dates based upon what the city's process is? Have we talked with the city about it?
Yeah, the city puts up dates
Yeah,
that you gotta go over there
that's exactly what I'm saying.
and meet with the whole planning staff, tell them the plan.
Yeah.
Go over this plan right here that we're doing. They'll lay it out a time frame
So
for us.
this is gonna be revised.
Oh, it'll be
Absolutely.
changed,
Yes.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yes.
Nothing's
And you'll
in
see that,
concrete.
we do outline that, some of the basics of the city, you'll see that the proposal is made to the P and Z
Right.
as well as the city, on both iterations, so I'm sure there's
And-
lots more to add in
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of detail to the process.
And then staff makes recommendations to commission. Commission does their thing, votes, and, there's a lot of moving parts here, let's
Yeah.
put it that
Yes.
way, a lot.
Commissioner Devine, what meeting does the commission review the new zoning and approve it? I don't see that, there's a line item here somewhere, I'm sure. It goes to the
Ask the
city,
question
but
again.
it has to be the proposal. Okay, so line number 47.
Mhm.
Okay, city council approves new zoning. Does the commission have any line item that indicates that staff has made a recommendation to us and we have approved that? Or is
I don't
that
think-
necessary?
That's a great question. I don't know that we have an approval in the rezoning process. We're helping facilitate the rezoning
Right,
process.
we don't have,
But I don't know that there's a
Do we have
decision
a-
where we would say we agree with this rezoning, except for the land use that we want to ultimately have for our building.
right, and that's all the city.
Well, wouldn't we make a recommendation
Oh,
to the city
Oh, yes,
for what we're asking them to approve? For the
absolutely,
new zoning?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
so I think that's where I'm going, and what line item is that in phase two?
I would
Or is
suggest
it-
that would be in the agreement that you will have with the selected developer. We would have things in there that says the master developer, they will come back before the commission and present this or something like that. I think that's something we will have to think through at that point.
I think
So
if you look
that's
at
in
line
phase
38 and line 43, I can detail that out more, but those,
Okay,
we can, I think, describe our interaction
Yep, we can
with
add,
that proposal to the city,
we can
how we
revise.
bring that forward.
Yeah, we can revise the steps in there and just to build it out a little further.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So the assumption is that when we go to P and Z, are we going to P and Z? I would assume yes, or is the developer going to P and Z?
Developer.
So the
Which
way I
is-
would envision it is, we are behind the developer.
Exactly.
to
Supporting,
P&Z. Supporting, showing the win for the citizens, for the commission, and, we would be standing there behind them, but the lead, in this case, I think, has to be the developer. They have the
100%.
expertise.
Absolutely. Yep,
So then, based on what P and Z says, are we making the assumption that in line 38, that is the city commission reviewing the application for rezoning after P and Z? I mean, that's kind of typical.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it, right, what you just said. One thing, let's keep this in mind. We're gonna, when we get to this point, say we're final zoning approval, and we've been through P and Z, where we need to have this unanimous vote, we need to determine in here somewhere, before we get too far down the road, if we're all gonna move forward, if any one of us up here is a no, then this thing is dead in the water and we spent all the money. So keep that in mind before we get that far, we ought to know that we're all in this thing together or if you're not, why you're not, and what would help you get all in.
I think that's really a good point, Chairman. And I think that's what you've cautioned us to think about probably 15, 20 minutes ago. So I'm suggesting that at every workshop we're bringing up, and every meeting, first of all, at every workshop, we're bringing up our questions and making sure that we have some kind of a consensus, not formally, but in our minds, we've discussed those things that would consider the fact and let us walk away from that workshop thinking, yeah, we're all in agreement, this is making sense, so that when we get to a board meeting, we've had sufficient time to think about it, and we kind of understand where we all were, at least at that workshop. And if there's anything that happens after that workshop before the board meeting, then maybe we'd have to take that into consideration. But I would think we've had the opportunity, each of us individually, to ask all of the questions and overcome any problems that we have with something that's going on.
I just want to make sure, and probably 15 minutes from now, you'll hear it again, because if we don't have 5 yeses up here, we don't move forward, period.
Correct.
And have you ever been surprised on a vote? I have, and it'll stun you. So you'll hear probably in 15 minutes, let's see. I may say
And I
it again.
think,
Go
Chairman
ahead,
Davenport,
yeah.
to your point, is we're gonna get to a point where you're gonna have a attorney for the developer.
Right.
We're gonna have Ms. Ramos here for us, the city manager and city attorney will be involved, and all that go through, and then we'll get to look at it all again. Because it's gonna be, I mean, in my personal belief with it, it's gotta environmentally work out there.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, absolutely.
a very sensitive piece of property, and you've got a huge anti-growth, situation going on right now. I mean,
No.
every day, you know, in the publications, it's out there, so, we need to make it a unique type
And-
thing. And I mean, you keep going back to yes, it's got a yes, make sense to the community for
Well,
us, right?
that's a given.
Because our
That's a
business
given.
is power and water, not land development, right? So our number one thing has gotta be power and water. How does this affect the utilities? What's our risk? What's our fiscal responsibility to do this? And can we make this work? And I think we all agree that it's a good idea to get off Canal, right? It's
Right.
how we make that work environmentally and fiscally for our utilities. Because that is our number one responsibility. 20 years from now, we need to have power and water.
50.
Right? 50, 100 years.
So I want to address what you just said environmentally. Excellent point. I want to address the pushback from a certain area. And what I would suggest, Commissioner Devine and Commissioners, in this, with this 900 acres, Venetian Bay has had a terrible flood problem, and we're aware of it. Let C put in here on the westerly side of our property. I've looked at this a long time where I'm coming up with this, and I think y'all have heard me mention it before, I know you have, Ephraim, that we see if we could help Venetian Bay with a big retention pond where that water came our way in that area that would flood over and help them. And that's being a good neighbor, if you will. How can we help them in this process? So we ought to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, and you've got two brand-new developments on Pioneer Trail there with the interchange going in, and none of us know what that's gonna do to storm. Well, I'll disagree with what the prognosticators say about how the water flows out there, because I've seen it firsthand, right? But I think those new communities are probably gonna experience some of the same things, and it's nobody's fault because it meets regulations and what we're doing, so legally, it's just what it is.
It's today.
So I think it will be, you know, and Commissioner Devine, thank you for this outline and all the work, because I think it is gonna take some steps and processes and some really good explanation, because it is a good idea for the city and for the NSBU. So it's the thing that's got to be done, it's how to get to that point to do it, and, you know.
But we're
we don't-
smart enough, the five of us up here and our staff, and Ephraim, all of us working together, and Commissioner Conley, we have the questions, we'll
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
It's moving along very well. I'm very pleased.
Well, and it's an aggressive timeline, and I think we all have expectations that there will be some surprises and hiccups along the road.
There's goodness,
But
correct.
I am really, really pleased to see it is an aggressive timeline.
And I'm glad you said that, Commissioner.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Commissioner Devine, aggressive timeline, but Julie just mentioned 2018. Just remember that, okay? All right, that's all I'm gonna
2017.
say.
2017 is when it started.
27, there he
let's-
goes. That's aggressive. All right.
Well, I'm using a
Come
new
on,
software
Commissioner
tool
Devine, you're
that
doing
can,
great. Just
that can easily
keep us
change the
going.
dates.
You okay,
Okay,
Commissioner Smith?
so,
Yeah, I had one question.
Yes.
Did we agree or have a consensus that we weren't going to do with any, we weren't gonna run in parallel the existing complexes' need for rezonings and land use amendments?
Well,
Because,
I'm not understanding your question. I'm sorry.
well, this complex development is, a big part of it is what happens to this facility here. That's the theoretic cash flow, correct?
What happens
Part
this
of it,
facility?
yes.
Yes.
When we say,
Did
that's,
we agree, did we make a decision sometime not to run in parallel land use and zoning issues with this facility?
that's, here's the way I'm looking at, Commissioner Smith, is we're working on the westerly complex, downtown complex, will be as is. We want to get this approved and let the developer, that's his situation with this building here, what he wants to do it, how he's gonna do it. But we will try to support him again, be behind his back to help him, but I don't see us doing anything here. Do you, Commissioner Devine, have that anywhere?
No, as it relates to the zoning and permitting for any changes to this building, I don't see that that's
Right.
anything in our scope.
We have enough on our
Correct.
plate.
We're
Yeah,
just-
I see it as two separate entities.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a separate, we put a for sale sign up on this, good Lord willing, somewhere down the road and let them deal with it from
Amen.
there, right? They need to have that vision, so.
Okay, good point
Good
though,
question.
Commissioner Smith, thank you.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I went over and toured the facility, the Methodist church over in DeLand that they repurposed, I guess is the term. And when we get to that point, we're talking about that facility, the fellow in charge of that project, it's called Northwest Square, he said he'd be glad to come and talk to us. So that might be a great opportunity we want to schedule sometime in the future.
Give us some ideas.
To see what issues they ran into. And it's a really nice project, but, you know, what were the problems they had to overcome? A lot of it had to do with fire
Yeah.
and re-sprinkling the whole facility. But it would be an opportunity, if you want me to, when you want to get to that point, we'll have him come over and talk to us.
Keep that in mind, we'll
All right. Okay.
entertain that. Commissioner Devine, you want to continue, please?
Yeah. So I think that's the key points around this phase 1 and 2. And so if there are no more questions on kind of that outline there, what we can do now is move to the RFP summary, which I believe is in this packet as well.
That's back here in the back, right here, Joe.
It should be the next slide.
Right here.
Right, all right, gotcha. Okay,
So, again, let me just explain what this is. So this is essentially just a summary of what is in the PowerPoint, minus little enhancements that we just talked about. This is where we do a better job of macro explaining in the RFP the 4 phases and the criteria used for selection of the development partner. And we can go as heavy or light as you want to go through this material. As it was described, you'll be getting the final version of the RFP probably today or tomorrow, and you'll be able to read it in its entirety. But the idea behind this is just to give people familiarity with what you're about to go get the long version of. And so,
I think we've gone over this in your original first one. This is a remake and go over and think, we ought to take our time ourselves, go home. This is our homework, I should say. Do a little,
I
sit there
agree.
and read it.
yeah.
And take it in, and then, because at the meeting, we'll be making those final decisions.
Totally agree.
So I'm.
The only thing I'd point out that may need some, if you go to page 12 and 13, I think and this is where we had some good legal advice, is you'll see in the RFP that we've laid this out as a component A and a component B.
Right.
Which is kind of the public and private kind of approach to the RFP. And Ephraim, if you want to
Yep.
explain that configuration so that when you do read this final document, that's a,
Yeah, this is the
Weird.
crux, this is the crux of it right here, based on working with Ramos and Scott Cole over at Gray Robinson, really separating the component A versus component B. The selected, a developer can do component A, component B, or both, but there is no guarantee on any of them to the developer. We may award to one or more. But the component A is the public utility campus, which is for our operations. So the headquarter facility relocation, including the transfer of certain personnel from the electric operations building, the fleet and facilities maintenance, the water field operations. We did have a line item for the city of New Smyrna Beach and Volusia County, but that we can discuss further at the Joint Commission in July. That one we had set up there, it is not a critical path in the sense of we get their feedback and then determine the level of interest, and we can proceed accordingly, but it will not hold up our timeline. Supporting utility infrastructure, of course, zoning, comprehensive land amendments, permitting, planning, and then the appropriate security level that we need. But that is the public utility, or component A is what our needs are as the utility.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is excellent.
Component B is more on the private parcel. Now, this is where the selected developer then has that latitude to then determine retail, commercial, light industrial, office, residential, multifamily. But component A, component B, future land disposition, particularly in component B, would accrue through a separate NSBU solicitation. So that's where then the fair market value comes into play on that land. So therefore, there's those various milestones to make sure that we're all in alignment. So.
And you have, Efren and Heather, in this, everywhere that we are not responsible and no guarantees.
Correct.
Everywhere.
Correct. Now,
Like I
we
said,
did.
every 15 minutes, bring that one up.
Yes. Well, and the developer does have a right of first refusal, but at the end of the day, there are no guarantees.
None.
So Heather at Gray Robinson's team they've done similar type large, unique deals that have advised us to, in essence, in the best manner to protect the utility.
That's on the next page, though. I just turned it, you can see I answered my own question.
There you go.
No, RFP does not. I like it, capital letters, NOT.
So before I move on, any questions on component A or versus component B?
This is great. Very well done.
And then, as you indicated, Chairman, 14 and 15. If you look at, and we've got here on, governance principle, this does not grant ownership rights, development rights, this land sale, separate NSBU solicitation, but the developer will be given right of first refusal, and then fair market value at the time of action. That is critical. Because right now, that land is zoned as agricultural. The
Right.
value is much different than it would be in the future. And then slide 15 just reiterates again what our facility requirements or operational footprint would be. The headquarters, the swoop site, fleet maintenance, water field operations, and then, of course, we do have the caveat at the last bullet point, City of New Smyrna Beach and Volusia County floor space and exterior space
That's
requirements.
great.
And I think the only last thing to point out here is just this evaluation criteria. We had thoughts of making this super objective and probably erred on the side of keeping it subjective. That's on page 17. But just to describe that process, we've envisioned that the RFPs go out, we get responses. There'll be a small committee that will gather up the information in a way that we can compare and contrast. And then that information will be presented to the committee, and then this committee will make the selection of the partner using that criteria that you see on page 17.
I feel you said a committee. I feel that,
Commission,
I
right?
mean, this board, in my opinion, should do this part right here.
That's exactly what I just
Okay,
said.
I
The
misunderstood.
committee reference was only to gather the
Gotcha.
information in a way that it's easily digestible to compare and contrast the different developer proposals. It's
Correct.
only made here.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Commissioner Devine, you want to go over?
I think that unless there's other questions, hopefully that gives us good opportunity to get aligned.
I have,
Yes, sir, Commissioner
on
Smith.
the appendix, page 23, excuse my ignorance, but that second point, prudence requires careful layering of additional fund. Could you, for me, put that in English? Because I'm having
sorry.
a hard time understanding what that
No
means.
problem. The page you're referencing is material from the presentation that was made for us to realign the new strategy. So this
Right.
was the deck that was used maybe 2 months ago. I just attached that as a matter of remembering what we had decided to do. So your question is on page 24,
23,
23?
second bullet.
Yeah, I'll give you the frame of reference there. So this was at a point where we were looking at different options and approaches to the strategy. Broadly, those two approaches were do it ourselves, take debt out to go buy and sell land throughout this whole process, or the second option was to use a development model, which is what we all ultimately landed on. That bullet was with the bond that we're currently pursuing right now, making sure that we had the financial prudence to understand that we're, taking on more debt may not be the right approach. So that is essentially, I think, what led us, many of us, to the developer model, rather than taking out money to finance this buy-sell approach.
Well, I'm not supportive at all of taking on any more debt, not at all, so.
Yeah, that, again, this was just when we were in the mode of trying to decide which path to
Right.
take. That's where that came from.
Correct. These are older presentations.
Did you have something to say, Commissioner Kelly?
No, I think that's correct. We are in the utilities business.
Yep.
Not-
Commissioner Devine, this has been an excellent, and what I like about this presentation, it's clear, it's concise, you understand it, to me. And that's, this, I think you mentioned it, Commissioner Conrad, a few months ago. I think it was you when you said we need to have it spelled out and where we understand it. And this is what's happening here, in my opinion, today, so thank you. I understand it. Commissioner Smith, if you understand it, we like me,
Pardon?
you understand it pretty good?
I have a lot of questions, but I'll hold
Write
on.
them down, yeah. Bring them up, though. You
Great,
got some
thanks
right
for
now
that.
you want to talk about? Do you have some now?
No, I'm just curious about this. I guess it's in the appendix. Is the estimated 6-month external budget range? Is that previously submitted?
That was previously submitted. That's what we agreed to when we took this strategic direction. That was the slide.
Is
gave
Is that a line item in the current budget? Or is the current budget going to be amended to
So
make that a line
what we
item?
currently have is 2 placeholders in the 27 and 28 budget
Right.
that'll be presented at the May commission meeting. That's not in here. But right now, we have about approximately $250,000 in 27 and approximately $250,000 in fiscal year 28 related to the Western
So that
Utility
was
Company.
budgeted.
Yes,
That was all
in
done.
27 and 28.
I'm just purse string kind of
Yeah,
question.
no, that's a good
Excellent.
point. So we do have that as an initial kind of first cut
Okay.
at it, so.
So what happens to, we have a 6-month external budget range of 125 to 225, which is fiscal year ending 9/30/26,
Six,
correct?
correct.
So is that in the budget?
So there is, in the fiscal year 26 budget, there was not specifically Western Utility Complex dollars, but based on our running to date, we can absorb what we're spending in 26 without an issue.
And I think you described that when we agreed on that point.
Yes, yeah, we have no issues absorbing that.
Good question.
I think this is 0.1% of the full year budget.
Okay, any other comments or questions for where we are now? And again, please, let's just write anything down that's on your mind and let's all talk about it, bring it up. So thank you, this is great. Thank you, Commissioner Devine, very much for all this work. And Efren and Julie and
Julie, yep.
Heather and There's been a lot, everybody's been involved in this. That's one question I want to ask you, Julie and Ephraim. When this project starts, it's gaining momentum. Are you going to need, in your area, Ephraim, you, the organization, going to need additional staff to assist with this?
Julie and I have already discussed that, so we've already identified an internal resource, and actually she is sitting to the left of Julie. So we've already discussed that. So we're able to align our priorities and work it out. So we'll be fine.
Okay, great.
Good news.
Well, good luck. Talking about a learning experience, this is an understatement, right here. You'll be able to work for anybody after this. Trust me, I know. Oh, this is,
Our team is used to wearing multiple hats and getting things done.
I'd love to be in your position. I love this stuff here. Anyway, thank you so much right there. We're going to move on. Are you through, Commissioner?
I'm done.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. All right, now let's go back to, please, and thank y'all for allowing that to be moved up. I really got a lot out of it, needed to. Number one, Ephraim, please.
Yes, so just to preface it before Randy Haley comes up, this is a discussion around fiscal year '27 purchase power, but more of the macro, preparing ourselves for the transition to more of a market-based purchase power for our capacity and wholesale power. But that'll be in 2034, but we will be using the next few years to prepare for that because our relatively low purchase power rates for capacity and the wholesale will end at the end of 2033. So that's one, looking at that. And then the more immediate within this presentation, we also discuss the FPL solar contract that's coming to an end as well. But it's a good discussion focusing on the long term, but then some immediate needs. And I'll turn it over to Randy, who's our purchase power consultant.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Randy. I need to leave. I've got something I can't get out of. Thanks again, Commissioner, for doing this the way we did it. I got a lot out of it. All right, I'll be in touch with you, Ephraim. Thank you.
Okay.
buddy.
All
All
right,
right, thank
so-
you, Ephraim.
Thanks.
Yeah, Ephraim just gave you overview of kind of some longer-term things that are gonna have to happen with the purchase power costs. But I wanna spend a few minutes kind of stepping you through what your current purchase power costs are, what's included in some of those, and reiterate, you guys are in a great position right now with your purchase power costs. So if we can go to the overview slide, perfect. Yeah, so like I said, we'll spend a few minutes on the current budget that you guys have for FY '27. We'll dissect that a little bit, look at the structure of what you have and how that is impacted by components such as natural gas cost and how that impacts your energy cost. And then look at your current supply of solar that you have, and then one of the options that you have with FP&L within their solar as well. So nice overview, but again, not bad news. This is all really good news. You guys are in a great position. The next slide. Yeah, the purchase power budget number you are probably familiar with, the $32 million for FY '27. But like I said, I want to take a few minutes and dissect each one of the components that are within that $32 million. The major portion of those costs are coming from the power sales agreement or the agreement you have with FP&L for the capacity and for the energy. The capacity piece within your agreement with FP&L, you have a set capacity each month that they will provide, that they have to provide to you because you're paying for it. You're paying a fixed fee for the capacity to be there when you need it. So that is a fixed fee that you pay on every month. It varies month to month depending on the season you're in. You have higher cost in July and August, and in January when your system needs more capacity. But it's a fixed fee, it doesn't fluctuate, it's in the contract, and that's the set fee. And I will tell you what you're paying for your capacity is well below market. So you're in an awesome position with that. I can't share details because a lot of that information the utilities deem as very confidential. They don't like that being shared in the public eye. But you are in a great position with that.
But the capacity is the 21 million?
Actually, the capacity makes up about 7 million of the 21 million.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've got Yeah, capacity is about 7 million, and then the energy that you pay for, which is the next main component from FP&L, energy is more, it's a pass-through of their fuel cost to you with a little bit of, they have variable O&M for their system that's built in, that's built in there, but it is a pass-through of their fuel cost. So you'll notice, I mean, as we went through 22 and the natural gas costs went, through the roof, your energy costs follow that as well, because they're passing that along to you. Just as you pass along your fuel cost, your purchase power cost to your customers, FP&L is doing the exact same thing for you.
When you say that we're way below market, what is the market? What is that?
Well, as an example, your total all-in cost that we budgeted for 27 is around $61.60 per megawatt hour. In 24, FP&L had a couple of contracts that were in the $67 range that they were currently charging in 24. I can tell you I have clients in North and South Carolina that are in the $75 to $80 per megawatt hour. And that's what I'm talking about market. Market is...
What drives the market, though? What are the factors in that? Or is it what we negotiated, or are there factors that...
What factors the market is the utility that's actually providing the power. Are they having to build capacity?
Okay.
And then the other part of that price is obviously the fuel. Within FP&L, you guys have a fuel mix with them because they have nuclear, they have natural gas, they have solar, a little bit of coal, not much left. But you have some diversity in that, and your energy cost is currently based on their system average. So you have some diversity in that. So when the natural gas prices spiked, you did have an increase, but their nuclear power stayed the same. Their solar stayed the same. So you have some diversity in what they're charging you in energy. But the market, as they start building new, right now, the only thing they're really building right now, they're considering, some small modular reactor, nuclear stuff, but that's probably 10, 15 years down the road. So anything that's being met with capacity now is going to be your combined cycle natural gas units. And as they start building those, their cost of providing that capacity, any utility, their cost of providing that capacity increases. And that's what, I'm more familiar with what's actually being built in North and South Carolina, because I have some clients that are currently looking at power supply now. And the range, their all-in range is about $75 to $80 per megawatt hour compared to your $60 a megawatt hour. But the good thing is, as we get to it on the next slide, you're locked into that price range through 2033. Okay. So you're in a great spot. Even though I'm telling you market's going up, you guys are in a great spot for the next several years. Gives you time to react to it. Absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah. Is the cost per, say, megawatt hour, this is our spend, these dollars. Is the cost per megawatt hour different in all these various sources, like the cost of nuclear versus solar?
Yes, it is. The $61 is kind of a blend of everything for you. That's correct.
I don't know if you have a chance, as a follow-up, it'd be interesting to see what that cost per megawatt hour is with the
yes,
various.
Commissioner Devine, we do have that. So absolutely, I can provide that to Ephraim. He can share that with you. Some of that information is somewhat confidential in where it comes in, so we'll have to figure out a way to let you see that without submitting it in a public forum.
Thank you.
But and as you said, nuclear, that's your next item for about $4.2 million of that $32 million, and that is the contract that New Smyrna Beach Utilities has through FMPA. It's their portion of the St. Lucie nuclear facility. So that item is more of a budgeted cost of running St. Lucie nuclear facility that FMPA has as part of their agreement with FPL and running it. So that's more of a budget. You don't see that one swing. It adjusts maybe every year, the budget adjusts, but you don't see a swing in it like you do in your fuel costs from natural gas perspectives. Then you have the two solar components. You have the first solar item, which is your contract that you have with FP&L right now for the solar, which is about $2 million. And then you also have an FMPA solar, which is ranked just under $350,000. So Both of those are the two specific solar contracts that you have that is solar for you. But you also have some solar energy built into what you're buying from FP&L as well. So you have a good mix of, non-fossil fuel, if you will, now.
So what we call it as low carbon, cost effective for our customers, because it is, the bulk of our power is based on FPL system average, which includes solar, nuclear, and natural gas.
Correct. The next line item is the interchange. The interchange is a capacity and energy market that New Smyrna Beach utilizes only when the capacity arrangements that you have contractually won't meet your demand. It's used very rarely. It's only used at times when your system peak goes above what you contractually can buy from FP&L. It's not used a lot because you have plenty of capacity lined up with FP&L. You have capacity lined up within the nuclear arrangement you have with FMPA. But this is for times when, like in January, when the temperature dropped well below 20, your peak went well above what you contractually had it. So the interchange is a market that all utilities use to kind of a supplemental backstop, so that energy, the capacity energy is there for you. You just have to pay for it when you use it. So it's just kind of a filler or supplemental, if you will. Then the transmission piece, the $4.1 million, that is the cost that you're having to pay to FP&L to transmit the energy from their generation unit to your substations, from the nuclear facility to your substations, from the solar facilities to your substations. That is it's typically based on a load ratio share. FP&L has fixed costs to run all their transmission system in the state of Florida, and they'll look at a load ratio share of what is New Smyrna Beach Utilities' peak capacity at the time of their system capacity, and then that ratio share is your portion of those fixed costs. So this doesn't fluctuate with fuel. It doesn't fluctuate. It just is your portion of the fixed cost to get the energy to your system.
And if you were looking for a total cost of each of these different sources, do all the sources, as an example, does solar use that same transmission route?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir, yeah. It does depend, Commissioner Devine, where they're located, because it's their transmission. You have a network service within FP&L's transmission service, so that means wherever that transmission is, it's just going across their network service to get to you. You may not receive an electron from that solar facility. It's just because the way the system's
Still
built,
pay for it, yeah.
you're paying for it, so you're getting credit for that solar coming across.
That's interesting, yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the next
And
slide.
this is maybe an
Oh,
area out of your expertise, but as Florida looks at capacity in general, how is Florida positioned, especially with its high reliance on nuclear? Do nuclear power plants have lots of excess capacity, or is that something that's going to have to be built over years?
Some of the nuclear facilities can have uprates, so when they'll go in and when it's time to do, the uprates typically come from more efficient steam turbines. They'll get the same steam's coming out of the nuclear facility. They'll upgrade the turbines so that they can get more capacity out of them. It's not usually a huge increase, but they can get more capacity when it comes time to replace the turbines. FP&L did share with us that within the next, I think, 5 or 6 years, they are not be able to put any new combined cycle natural gas units in. So what they're looking at is adding battery storage at some of their facilities and installing more solar, because their future growth on what their load growth for just general load growth, they think they can meet that demand through what they're planning there.
What's the horizon you're referencing? What's the time
It was
horizon?
I think it was like 5 or 6 years, but I mean, they have, if you look at their 10-year site plan, they have more combined cycles they are building.
Okay, thank you.
But they felt like they could meet the immediate need with some additional solar that they were building, and as well as some battery storage. Because solar doesn't give you the capacity you need when your system needs it, The batteries they install will help, they can, pull power from the batteries during those peak times, but that's only for, 2 to 3 hours. So they're really, it's not a long-term solution, it's just a step that they're using to get them through their current growth to meet the capacity, the demands they have.
Thanks.
Is FP&L looking at wind at all?
They, I don't know that they are in the state of Florida, Commissioner. They have, FPNL does own a lot of wind out in the Midwest, or NextEra owns a lot of.
Well, I've been to Iowa, I've seen wind.
Yeah. And NextEra, who's the parent company of FPNL, does own quite a bit. I think they're the largest owner of wind generation in the country. But as far as in Florida, I haven't seen any that are being built in Florida, nor do I know how efficient they would be in Florida, just from the types of weather that we have.
Thank you.
Okay, this is for Efren or Cody. Referencing the fiscal year 27 budget of 521, 169, 574, what is that for 26?
Oh, fiscal year 26's budget is $60.79.
No, I would
Oh.
like to know total budgeted kilowatt hours
Oh,
the
purchased
energy.
for 2000 and fiscal year end 2026, because you say here you're budgeting for 27. I just want to know what the increase or decrease is.
Yeah, we'd have to get back to you. Let me, I don't have the fiscal year 26. It was the budget one, so we'll get back to you.
Yeah, I don't have that either, Commissioner. It was below that, because when we did the forecast, we were
Yep.
projecting the growth happening, so.
Yeah, because we know our average customers increase 1 to 2% a year. We factor that in, so Randy helps in the projections for our budget based on growth and other assumptions.
Okay. All right, we can go to the next slide. I think we've already talked about a lot of this, so I won't repeat it all, but you were able to extend your current contract with FP&L to maintain the current pricing you have through 2033, which was an excellent idea. They had shared some information with us on where they felt like the market was going for the state of Florida. And we were looking at that as a comparison to where you currently were, and also what they were charging some of their current customers in 2024. So as I shared, one of the customers that FP&L had was around $67 in 2024 per megawatt hour, and that's compared to your $61 per megawatt hour. So again, moving in that direction in our budget. But to give you a different perspective, in 2024, your cost was around $43 per megawatt hour. So if you compare that 67 to your 43, those were actual costs. You can see that the market is moving in a much higher, a direction of being much higher. Right. So it's, and a couple of the reasons I think they gave for us was their load growth, but they did mention some data centers that potentially are coming, but that's speculative at best right now. They do have some areas that they could put some data centers in. None have been landed as of yet. And looking at the cost, the way that they structure their costs for data centers, the data centers are paying every dime that it costs to come into those areas. But they're still trying to give you an idea of what that cost would be in the future. So I think they were fairly close to what you were. I think is that on the? Yeah, I think that was. It's moving. It's just basically moving. It's going to be higher. But again, you've got till 2034 to respond to that. Let's see. Oh, the last bullet on this slide, because since we're talking about FP&L, the $61 that we showed on the first slide is your all-in cost, which is transmission and all the other components. Since we're looking at FP&L right now, I just wanted to break down what are you paying to FP&L for energy and capacity. And for 27, we're budgeting about $54 per megawatt hour from just the FP&L component. That doesn't include your transmission and all, but that's just the comparison that we're looking at for the $67 that they had. So it's a bigger difference than I had originally said. The next slide, and one of the reasons that we had the jump in our forecast is natural gas costs. And in this slide, you can see the historical trend. You can see the big spikes that we had back in 21 and 22. That was when the Russian invasion started in the Ukraine area. That really did impact the cost of liquefied natural gas being pulled from the United States over to Europe. So it did impact the demand that we had in the US. But as it calmed down and we got back down out of that initial issue, the cost of natural gas, in 24 it averaged about $2.19 per MMBTU. For 27, we're based on some of the forward curves we have from some of the industry providers that forecast natural gas, we're looking at to be around $3.60 per MMBTU is what we're forecasting. I think, and I know that Cody tracks this on a monthly basis of what those costs are, so he can provide y'all a better tracking of what's actually happening and how that's impacting y'all's, the FPP-CAC, your fuel adjustment rider, how that's impacting that. So you also can see the big spike that we had back in January and February. That was not market-driven, that was weather-driven. Nothing happened in the market to cause that demand on the system. It was just a massive spike in demand because the temperature dropped all over the country. Demand went way up, and a ridiculous amount of money was spent on natural gas in those time periods. So that's why your energy went up. Yes, sir.
Good question. Who is FPNL's supplier of natural gas?
They have their own, I don't know specifically who they are physically getting it from, but they have their own transmission, gas transmission system they've invested in. They probably have multiple suppliers where they're buying the gas from, because you have the cost of gas, which is typically purchased when we refer to Henry Hub, that's down in the Louisiana area, that's where the base cost of gas is. Then you have the cost of getting that gas transported from that area to where you need it. So that does have an impact on their costs, but they've invested heavily. Years ago, they invested heavily in transportation of natural gas so that they had the ability to manage their costs better than others did if they did not own that transportation capacity. So they do a lot of it themselves, Commissioner.
Thank you.
But again, this is a good opportunity to see how your FPP-CAC, your fuel, your purchase power adjustment, that balance that we have, that you have, how that can absorb some of these spikes and not impact your customers on a monthly basis. So that was one of the main reasons that we had that target of $5 million for you guys to keep focusing on that rate stabilization fund balance. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. Next slide. But at the end of the day, everything that you guys have been doing for the past several years has been fantastic. This slide has shown you a comparison of rates for the residential customers. You are the green, the second lowest in the state of Florida as of right now. The blue lines are all municipal utilities. The orange lines are the investor-owned utilities. And based on your current power supply arrangement that you have, and based on what you guys have done from operational efficiencies, you're not second to the lowest by accident. I'll just put it that way. Some of these folks are paying the same on purchase power as you are. You're below them. Some are paying more for purchase power than you are, but maintaining where you are right now, you're in an excellent position, and this just shows you the impact of what power sales can be. And again, your purchase power, you don't mark it up at all. It is strictly a pass-through to your customers, so you don't earn a margin on it. We set that up so it's just a pass-through, and the only thing you're earning money on is operating the system and investing back in the system. And the fact that you guys are still second to the lowest in the state of Florida, that speaks volumes to where you guys have been in operational and management of the system.
Can you expand a little bit on the data on this chart? So is this taking a 12-month average?
No, so this is, this is actually for March, the month of March.
Just month of March, yeah.
Yeah, the Florida Municipal Electric Association puts out a monthly comparison. They pull all this data together and send out where you guys are. It's for all the municipal utilities. but every month they update this.
And so, is this something all these utility companies opt into so that they can compare and contrast, or is this publicly available data?
It's publicly available information, yes, sir.
Okay.
And
That's
it
great
is a
news.
service that the Florida Municipal Electric Association does provide for the municipals in the state. Because, I mean, as you'll see, majority of the municipalities are less than the investor owns at this point. You know, that does, each year that changes, you know, where this all lies and that changes. But, I mean, I've been working with y'all since, you know, 2019, and I don't think we've ever been above 3 or 4, Ephraim?
Correct. At one point, we were the lowest, and then we've been fluctuating 3, 4. But that's the one thing, these comparisons, so this March 2026 is post the February 1st rate increases. Yeah, so this is, and as others, since we have a built-in, per the governance model, every 3 years we do the rate study, we're typically ahead of our peers in making sure our rates are up to date. When we're comparing to these other ones, as they increase, that just allows us to stay at that lower quartile.
And as we look at this data in the future, does that include like surcharges, fuel surcharges?
Yes, sir. This
It does.
includes all fuel
Yeah.
surcharges, and it also includes the investor owns adders for storm hardening, and
Got it.
so everything that's being charged to a customer right now for each of these utilities is included in this information.
And I don't know how many there are here, but maybe 20, 30. Is what, if you look at the total state, how many are there
This is pretty much them. Yeah, it's
throughout the whole state? That's no
Because
other.
obviously, FP&L covers a majority of the state
Okay.
of Florida. You have several municipalities. This one doesn't include, there are some cooperatives, electric cooperatives that I don't think are listed in here. They're more of a rural area,
Yeah.
so they don't have a lot of customers.
But this
but-
is at 90% plus.
Yeah,
Great.
yes, sir.
So
Excellent.
per this chart, 30. Now, whether there's some cooperatives, I just counted 30 municipals.
But that would 30 would represent 90% of the state.
Oh, I would say more.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yes, sir.
Really great. Congratulations, team. Ephraim.
It's very good.
Thank you.
All right, the next slide. Yeah, this is just to reiterate, as what I said a moment ago, the purchase power cost is a pass-through. Your staff does a detailed job of looking at budgeting what these costs are. They look at this on a monthly basis. I know Cody does it maybe more than monthly, but he's looking at it really closely. And comparing what we budgeted to what's actually happening. And that's where the FPPCAC, or your purchase power adjustment fund, comes in. So taking a look at what we budgeted, what actually happened, and then are we close to where we said we should be with refunding some of the money that was back in that fund balance? I think when we looked at this, you were around, I think $9 million balance. We identified $5 million being the appropriate balance. We set a plan in place that was going to credit that back to the customers over a 2-year period. I think that's pretty much on track to where we had estimated it to be. But again, this is just to reiterate, it's looked at monthly. Each year they put a budget together based on the best available information. We forecast that out, put that into the rates, and that's what we look at, and what the rates are going to be, what that fuel, the adder is going to be, or the credit's going to be, to make sure we maintain the balance that we've targeted, that y'all approved last year, and also look at how are we doing with that balance, and how are you comparing to the other utilities in the state. So it's an ongoing basis, but again, it is a pass-through. Nothing of the purchase power is kept or pocketed or put into any other operations. It's accounted for separately and maintained in a balance separately. Next slide. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the solar that you get from FP&L. Currently, I think we've been getting that since January of '24. Current takes you through about 2026. It is based on a facility it's a 23 megawatt portion of one of FP&L's larger solar facilities that you get. But again, It's the energy you're purchasing. It does nothing for the capacity. Capacity is when your system's at its peak demand, you're probably getting maybe, 2 or 3 megawatts of that 23 megawatts. So it's not a capacity resource, it's strictly an energy resource. And currently you're paying about $40 a megawatt hour for this energy. And just to kind of give you a perspective on what you're currently paying, you're paying in your energy from FP&L, it's a little bit below $40 a megawatt hour what you're currently paying for the all-in system average energy cost from FP&L. They're proposing to extend this, they being FP&L. If you want to extend this, they're going to bump that up to over $40 a megawatt hour. And just to kind of give you perspective, your current you're buying solar from FMPA as well. And that cost from FMPA is around $28 per megawatt hour. So you can see the difference in the cost from what you're paying for FP&L and what you're currently paying from FMPA. And just to reiterate, you're also getting solar energy from the system average cost that you're paying to FP&L in your main power sales agreement that you have with them. So you're getting solar, even if you didn't have this this additional solar from them. Give you an idea of if you did not renew this solar agreement with FP&L for FY27, that would save y'all about $570,000 in energy cost. That's because it's not a full calendar, or the full 12 months in that. But for a full 12 months for 2028, it's about $690,000 of energy savings that you would have by not renewing this contract with FP&L for their solar. Again, you're still going to have solar. You have solar from FMPA. You're getting solar from the system average energy you're buying from FP&L. So this is just more of worked with Efren and staff on looking at from a cost perspective, is this the most efficient use of your funds for energy costs?
I assume you would recommend that we don't renew?
My green is dollars. I lean more toward what's most efficient fiscally than I do from the cost of energy. Again, you're getting solar from FMPA, you're getting solar from FP&L in your mix. That this is just more of a policy decision for the commission. Staff is recommending that we not renew it and allow those savings to flow back to your customers.
Right.
But at the end of the day, obviously, commissioners, that is your decision.
And where is that decision, Ephraim? Is that here or?
So what we'll do is, since this is a workshop, our plan was to discuss this, give you the background, and then at the May 26th, we would formally propose a submission to you, to the commission, that says we will not renew the contract. You would then say yay or nay.
Okay.
That's all. But yes, but we wanted to set the stage here to have that discussion.
And we're talking only about FP&L.
FP&L solar dedicated contract.
Correct.
Yep.
And why the big difference in a 40 to 12? To 20? Was it 20? 28? $12 difference.
FP&L, again, is moving toward market rates. They
Okay.
are, and that is in generally $40 to $50 a megawatt hour is kind of what they can get for solar in the market. For various reasons, that's just what the market bears. The FMPA project was a project that FMPA and several municipalities and together went in to build. There were supposed to be
Right.
there were supposed to be 3 of those, Efren.
Yeah,
and
there-
only one was.
So this was an interesting story. So early on, FMPA had lined up a couple of these solar projects. For the FMPA all requirements, which are a much higher cost per megawatt hour, because FMPA manages their own generation, they were able to get a pretty good deal on this initial project, which we jumped on, 5 megawatts at, and we can't disclose, but let's say it's $28 a megawatt hour. It actually runs less than that. They had so you had the issue with the Chinese-made solar that they were then trying to pass off as not, Chinese-made. So therefore, every subsequent solar project after this went substantially higher. We were able to lock this contract in at that rate. So,
And now, is this an FMPA out here on 44? Is it
no, that's FPL Solar. This Rice Creek, I'm not certain where it is logistically, but it's
don't
not
remember either.
near us. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
so.
Is this the max that we can get from FMPA on
Yes.
solar?
Yes,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is.
That's my understanding.
Yes,
There
it is.
was a second
5 megawatts.
contract that potentially we had a few years ago for something that might come online in 27 or 28, and that died, right?
Well, it did because it kept going, the developer of that specific dedicated solar kept asking for increases. And the minute we knew we were out of this sweet spot, knowing our overall total our purchase power portfolio, we knew anything after this was not going to be advantageous for us to execute.
Does FPNL care if we drop their solar?
I was just gonna ask that.
No.
No,
Well,
they don't.
They'll find someone else to sell it to.
So that was my earlier question. Is the market set by a group, a state, an area, or is that just the market? And you answered that question.
Yeah.
The market is whatever they want to
Yeah.
set the market to.
And again, they will find somebody to buy it.
Right,
Absolutely.
right, right. It's
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, next slide. So here's where we get to talk a little bit about where the market's going for y'all after 2034. As Ephraim said, you guys did lock in your current power supply through 2033, which is the capacity charges that you currently pay are locked in through 2033. Your average energy cost for FP&L system, average energy cost is locked in through 2033. That's gonna fluctuate with the gas market, but it's locked in to have their average system cost. But when we get to where they estimated where you would probably be in 2034 is about $76 per megawatt hour compared to your current of 54, what we're estimating for you right now in 27. And again, that's a couple things happening in that. That's not just energy going up. That is them charging you more for your capacity. Again, your current capacity rate, which I can't say in a public setting, is relatively low. It's well below market. And the pricing that they were sharing with Ephraim and your staff when we met with them was, this is where the market's going. And I can tell you that my clients are already paying, my clients in North and South Carolina are already paying $76 to $80 per megawatt hour. That's where the market is in North and South Carolina. So FP&L is just moving more of their wholesale clients to the wholesale market. What's that market gonna bear? You know, they gave some reasoning that they'll be installing more capacity, which they will. They'll have to install some more capacity within the next, 5 to 10 years. They've got combined cycles that they're showing in their 10-year site plans. And I think one of the reasons you guys have been able to stay where you are and kind of stay below the radar is your size. The customers that they're charging, the $70 per megawatt hour are large. They're about 13 times your size. You aren't buying a lot from them compared to some of the larger entities. And they started going after the bigger wholesale customers before they started coming after the smaller ones. And you guys have a great relation. Candidly, I mean, the gentleman that comes and meets with your staff, super nice guy. They've been doing a lot of things with you guys over the years, and you've got a great rate with them. When I first started working for y'all, and I saw the contracts, and I said, Ephraim, don't piss them off. Just keep them happy, because you have got a great rate. But they are moving you to a market rate after 2033. But the good news is you have time to react to that. And that's what we want to kind of talk about that on the next slide. If they're going to move you to a market rate, we really need to see what is the market going to bear. So prior to 2034, highly recommend that like in 2032, we send out an RFP to all the wholesale providers in the state, which will be Duke, FP&L as well. Southern Company does have some wholesale supplies in the state. FMPA still has capacity. We'll see what they're doing. But you want to send out an RFP to see where is the market. I'm sure FP&L is going to try to beat what the market is, but y'all need to have that information in front of you to see where's the market from everybody else, so that we have a good idea, or you have an evaluation in place to identify which one of the wholesale suppliers are going to give you the best market rate. You're going to go to market regardless. So let's find you the best one out there and try to find that relationship. Because prior to FP&L, you were buying from Duke, and then you bought some from Duke and FP&L at the same time, and that's still a potential option. You know, we'll look at every option there is for you prior to this 34, but you're going to go up, so we just need to find out who's the best supplier for you when that happens. So again, you got plenty of time to react to that. Ephraim's already got some ticklers out in the future dates for all of us to start looking at, sending out RFPs, kind of talking to wholesale suppliers. We're going to stay in front of it and, you know, bring that information back to you as we have it. But you do have a couple of other options that we can take a look at to help transition that, because if we jump to that $76 cost that they're estimating, that's about a $10 million increase to your purchase power. So you're going from the $32 million that we projected for 27 to roughly $42 million. So that's a $10 million increase in purchase power. That's a heck of an increase for 1 year, which you guys are very aware of that. So there's a couple things we can do to look at transitioning you to smooth that out. You still have the ability to utilize your fuel stabilization fund. Do we look at maybe growing that a little bit above the 5 million to get you to that transition period so that it's a phase-in for your customers? I mean, that's an option to look at, but it's also another option to take a look at as we're looking at your cost of service and your proposed rates for the next, 5 to 6 years. Do we look at slowly increasing those rates a little bit more to get them ready for that jump in purchase power? So we're not doing it in 1 year. So you've got a lot, you've got time to address it. You've got several options to look at to transition your customers to that new market reality. But even looking at the rate comparisons, just kind of playing around, that still doesn't put you past midpoint on those rate comparisons that we had. I was just kind of playing around with that just to see where it did land you for that March data. Because you're so low right now, you've maintained your rates to a level that they are, your customers are going to pay more, absolutely, but you're not going to be in that top tier once this happens. All the planning you guys have done to date in maintaining your rates to where they are, you're in a great position to address this as we move forward. So I'm not concerned with the amount of time we have. We have plenty of time to help you understand the impact and y'all to decide the best step for your customers.
Well, what is the date that we should do actual transactions related to this, creating a buffer for this?
We can look at that.
This is 2033, right? Or
Yeah,
34?
2034, 2034 would be the first time you're paying
Right.
market rate, yeah.
So what would be the timing of proactive tasks we would do?
Ephraim and I had already talked about that. So 2032 is when I would start doing some RFPs, kind of getting some ideas of the capacity that's out there, get some pricing back, some indicative pricing back from them, and the structure, because the structure of what you're going to pay is going to be critical as well. And then as we are doing, I know that we look at your rates every year because we have a kind of the 5-year rate path of what we think your rate should be. We can also factor in some scenarios of adding a little bit more to get them to that wholesale, to get you to that point where you're covering the purchase power cost in 2034 as well. So you have time to plan for both of those.
Yeah. And you're going back to your comment that we would, on that comparison chart, we would move from second best to middle of the pack, which is the kind of the total rate that our competitors are paying. Do you understand the rates that our competitors are paying when you said we would move to the middle of the pack? How do you discern what's operational efficiency versus rates that we pay?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Commissioner. I don't. I don't know what they do inside their rates, whether they are in the process of increasing their rates to increase operational efficiencies. But I do know what a majority of those folks are paying in wholesale. And you're Currently, you're below them.
Okay. So much of our competitiveness is coming largely from the rate?
It is. The wholesale rate is one of the.
80/20, 50/50, what do you think it is?
Well, like I said, I know that in 2024, that one customer was paying, that's buying from FP&L was paying $67 and you're paying 43. So that's, you're well below them in the efficiency. But you got, the operational aspect, you don't know where, New Smyrna Beach is in a growth phase. And when you're in a growth phase, you are incurring some additional costs in expanding your system. But we've also implemented, I'm sorry, Efren, it's you. Like some of the SEAC charges we're starting to collect from the developers now. So you've put things in place to address the growth that you're having, but because you are growing, you are investing more in your system. So some of these little small towns have no growth. So they're stagnant. They're not gonna, whether they're investing in their system to maintain it to where it should be, I don't know. But you do have a lot of the areas where growth is. OUC, for example, I used to work for OUC. A lot of growth at OUC. So that they're obviously higher than you. When I was at OUC, our strategic goal was to be at or below the investor-owned utilities rates. We weren't targeting to be the lowest. We were just targeting. But they also own generation. They don't have purchase power. They own nuclear, natural gas, coal, solar. So it's more of a vertically integrated utility system there than what you guys are. But I do work for several utilities throughout the Southeast, and you guys are run well. You really are. I don't have heartburn when I come work for you guys.
Thank you.
And we don't know where contractually they are in their lifespan of their contracts. I mean, we're up until 2033.
That's
They could
correct.
be, so that would vary it and put you at a different space on the chart.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And typically what we've seen, oh, go ahead, Randy,
No,
finish.
and I was going to say that the data each of the investor-owned utilities have to file in their FERC Form 1 data. They file their sales for resale. They don't give you detail of what the contract looks like, but they
Right.
do tell you how much energy that entity purchased and what their total costs were. So that's where I'm getting those cost comparisons for you. So it's their data. I'm not disclosing anything because it's publicly available, so that information I won't get in trouble for sharing. But it does, to your point, Commissioner, we don't know when those contracts are up,
Right.
when the extension is, where they are in the middle of those contract life, their contracts either.
And to your other point, you got Williston, Stark, Newberry, Bartow, well, it's grown, but Quincy, places like that, Clewiston, those are, drive-through town type things. They're not very big places, nice little places in Florida,
You're right.
And the other thing that we've noted or seen, and we see this in electric, water, wastewater, across all the rate structures, our peers typically are not as methodical and rigid about making sure that the rate structure's keeping up. A lot of times they'll do it more last minute, where they have to go up significantly because they're at a point of no return. Because have you seen, maybe talk a little bit about that, Randy, and some of your clients?
Yeah, my clients that are commissions like yourselves are more proactive in doing what's right for the system and considering the impacts to the customers. If you have, a lot of these towns it's an electric department of the city. So you've got the town council voting on these. And if you're in the middle of an election, rates typically don't go up. It's unfortunately, there is some political maneuvering you have to do in some of the electric departments that are underneath a city commission. Not saying they're mismanaging them,
Right.
but it does create a little less business decision than what I found with my customers that are commissions.
Right, fair statement.
Yeah, your job is the utility, and that's all you're focusing on. Theirs is parks, downtown redevelopment, and all that. And can they get that money from the utility to fund some of that? I know I'm treading lightly on some
Yeah, you did well.
Okay.
Your last bullet, are you going to discuss that? It says in there anticipated load increases from new data center development. I thought I read or heard somewhere the data centers are gonna be required to create their own power source.
Yeah, that was a bullet point that FP&L gave us, why the rate was going up. But to your point, you're absolutely right. Everything that I have seen, and even the FP&L came out with a data center rate, if you will, and it got killed by the governor for some reason. I'm not sure, the politics are happening. But even in that rate they came up with, they identified within their service territory within the state of Florida, they had about 3,000 megawatts, or is it megawatts? Yeah, about 3,000 megawatts of capacity that they could let someone come in without it impacting their transmission system, but they had specific spots. But if you look at the tariff, they were required to pay every dime of development,
Right.
every interconnection, everything that was caused to hook to the system, and any potential impact to the transmission system.
So it's like an impact fee.
Yeah, they had to pay every dime to come in, which I think is the prudent thing to do for data centers of that size. I have a couple that my clients that are looking at some data centers coming in, not that big, but a couple of them in North Carolina are about 500 megawatts, and my towns aren't even that big. So you gotta have a power supply lined up for it, which, the wholesale power suppliers, they don't just typically have 500 megawatts of generation on standby. So there's a lot to do with that before it comes in, yes.
Thank you.
So, Ethan, I guess the next steps is,
So at this meeting, what we wanted to give the kind of a purchase power overall, status of the transition from 2033 to 34, and then, of course, the actual real piece of business that we need to do at the May commission meeting was the extension on the current solar contract with FP&L. Our recommendation that will be voted on May 26th would be to not extend that contract, and then we would be able to just leverage our existing resources. We will, of course, we'll start preparing in the next several months. We'll start preparing for the longer term on the transition and brief you periodically on what our plans are as it relates to preparing for that 2033 to 34 transition. But our goal, of course, is ensuring that the system that we're reflecting what we know today, what will be in the future, but also managing our customer implications with that. So that's where we are at. But I guess with that, that's really our proposal, not to extend the FP&L solar. I guess any questions based on the presentation, any other items to discuss? Randy's here, we're here. That's kind of where we're at with purchase power.
Commissioners?
How many other purchase power options do we have, other companies?
Duke is an option still. Southern Company, which is the Georgia company, they do have generation within the state of Florida as well, is an option. I don't know if they have the capacity, but those are the three biggies. Then you always have FMPA. They do have excess capacity within their nuclear facility, so we'll see what they come back with. OUC did used to have some wholesale customers, but they are in the process of trying to, handle their own growth and their own capacity. But we will ask everyone who owns generation, we'll ask them to consider providing you a proposal for the rates that you need to cover you guys in the future.
Is JEE in the mix?
And JEA does have generation as well, but they're kind of in the same boat as OUC. The generation that they own pretty much meets their needs, but we would, by all means, it would be a broad RFP, and they will all come back and say, yes, we have the capacity, and we would be glad to propose, or they'll say, no, thank you. We ask as many as we can get our hands on. We don't go too far out. Southern Company has generation within the state, so we don't go outside too far, because if we go up into Georgia, we could probably get a better energy wholesale rate, but you got to pay for that transmission wheeling. So the $4 million you're paying now could potentially be doubled. if we came across another transmission facility. So that's why you don't look too far outside of the control area of your current transmission providers. You guys are in a great position because you can get transmission from Duke or from FP&L. So you're in a great spot for different options of wholesale power supply.
And just of course, being a layperson, transmission, does it matter what size the company is, whether it's Duke or FB&L? If there's a hurricane and things like that, the restoration of power and stuff like that, is it?
Typically not. The restoration of the transmission facilities will be done fairly quickly because they own the transmission. They need to get the transmission up and running as fast as they can. Now, are you referring to like helping you guys in the distribution aspect?
Just getting it into us, you know.
Oh, it's already built. It's already there.
It's there.
Yes.
So
I'm
right
sorry.
now at Smyrna Substation, we have 2 interconnections with FPL and Duke. We only have a current contract with FPL, but we could easily secure items or purchase power from Duke.
Okay.
Because we did have a contract with them at one time.
Yeah, and that's part of the open access transmission, that they have to give you service.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? Nope. Nope. That's it, Randy, we're good?
All right.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Yep. And we are done with item number 2 then. So, any additional topics or comments for the workshop in next month? Mr. Devine, any comments? Mr. Smith?
Heather, do you have any update based on recent regulatory action that needs to be covered or would be of interest to us today versus next week?
We are still waiting for, there's a lot of bills that have been presented to the governor, but not yet signed. And I understand that he might not sign a lot of them. So instead of spending extra time looking at some of those, like I know Efren asked us to look at a specific one, we haven't even analyzed that yet just because it's been presented, but he hasn't taken any action on it yet. So next week I might have a better update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Conrad. And Commissioner Devine, thank you for the Western Complex presentation. It summarized everything.
Hope it
I
helped.
feel way more comfortable.
Great.
Way more comfortable, so thank you. And, you know, on the monthly bill comparison, I mean, it is important. It's a great job by the team. I know you guys look at every dollar, watch your expenses and things like that, but that's really good and comfortable for not only us as a commission, but the city, people in the city. So
Yes.
it's nice to have those little wins.
Yeah, and we're preparing for the future. We know what's coming, and we'll be looking further down ahead and planning accordingly, and really managing the impact to the customer transitioning to that market base.
Yeah, it's interesting what's coming. That market value thing has popped up in every industry lately, that market value dictates everything. It's not what a cost is, it's market value, so, but nothing
Supply and
else.
demand.
Supply and demand, that is it, yeah. Anything else, anybody? We good? Meeting adjourned?
Oh, I had, just a quick reminder, July 20th, 5 p.m. here is the joint commission workshop.
Okay,
So,
in here,
in here,
okay,
5 o'clock.
all right.
Maybe next workshop meeting, we could sketch out an agenda.
Yes.
Be a good
I
idea.
guess that'll be a topic. So for the June 15th workshop, we'll, start coming up with start developing a draft agenda.
All right, all right, meeting adjourned. Everybody have a great day.
Jeff,